Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to have a look at another collaboration beer for this one, and both of the breweries involved here have featured on the channel before. The home brewery has been on the channel quite extensively over the last couple of years because they are very local to me here in Skåne in the south of the country, and they are also quite a prolific brewery. And the away brewery, the guest brewery, have been on the channel once, but I was impressed with the beer that I had from them, so maybe I need to order a few more through Systembolaget and get those reviewed for you. But for this review then, we are going to have a look at a beer that I think will be pretty interesting. So we're going to go to Landskrona, which is a little bit to the north of me here in Lund. I used to work there as a science and maths teacher, of course, and we're going to have a look at another beer from Brekeriet. This one is the Our Dancing Daughters, which is a Sour Lemon IPA brewed at 6.2% ABV, and it's brewed in collaboration with Idlewild Brewing, who come from Untappd, which is maybe about 2.5–3 hours away, something like that. But Untappd you'll find on the very south of Lake Vättern, if I remember correctly. But yeah, this is a beer that I think will be really interesting. Brekeriet, I've had a number of good beers from over the years. Sour and Salt, Swedish Ninja, which was a collaboration with one of the breweries from Chicago. Pipeworks, actually, if I remember correctly. Purple Rain, Ruby Gems, Wrapped in Red. You know, those are probably some of my favourite beers that I've had from Brekeriet over the years. The last beer that I had from Idlewild was their Future Proof, which was a double IPA, and that was really old school actually, you know, properly a proper West Coast caramelly, big hoppy IPA with, I think it had Amarillo and a lot of the old school hops in it, but it was really nice, a bit of a monster, like 9% or something like that. But I would recommend you check out that beer if you're looking for a proper old school West Coast IPA. So yeah, I need to review a few more beers from those guys, but I was impressed with that one, the Future Proof, so be sure to check that out if you get the chance. But yeah, very curious to see what these guys can produce when they're put together, and hopefully this turns out to be an interesting review. So this is a beer that I picked up at Glassbanken.sa, and I got this one just because I thought the beer sounded interesting. I thought it would be nice to feature Idlewild on the channel again after a little while, and it had been quite a while since I had something from Brekeriet. I think the last beer that I had was the Ruby Gems, and that's maybe been about 3 months or so since I saw that one. So yeah, hopefully this turns out to be a good beer, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Brekeriet before, and my other ones as well from Idlewild. Hopefully you can see more added to both of those lists in the very near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, and we'll talk about Brekeriet first, since they are the home brewery. So as I've told you before, Brekeriet were originally based in Jörslöv, just outside of Malmö, but they're now based in Landskrona, a bit further north. So the company was founded back in 2011 by the three Ek brothers. This is Fredrik, Christian and Andre. And these guys are a specialist brewery using Brettanomyces and Lactobacillus, so it is, you know, 98–99% sour beers that these guys brew. On a very rare occasion you will get a kind of normal beer from these guys. But these guys were the first brewery in Sweden to become a sour beer brewery, and they remain the only completely specialised brewery to date, if I remember correctly. There are a good number of breweries producing sour beers here now. You've got Jämerdalen away up north, you have Pang Pang are doing some things, Temple have always done some sour beers as well. Who else is there in the kind of Stockholm area? Nobody's coming to mind at the moment, but in Gothenburg, you know, you've got Morgendagens. I think Duck Pond are starting to do things now. Dugas Brekeriet, of course, have a really good reputation when it comes to sours. There's a lot of really good sour beer breweries around at the moment, so definitely you've got a good selection in this kind of style category. around Sweden, but Brekeriet are, you know, the kind of original Swedish sour beer brewery. I think it's definitely fair to say that, and then Dugas, I think, started doing this not long after. But the original brewery that these guys had was based in an old brew house in Jørsløv, which was a share brewery for the local farmers. They brewed their first beers there back in 2012, and this brewery had a very modest production capacity of only 500 litres per brew, which gave them a yearly capacity of around 38,000 litres. As of 2015, though, they have a new brewery in Landskrona, which can produce 20 hectolitres per brew. They started off with a fermentation capacity of around 80 hectolitres, and I believe this has been expanded quite considerably since then. Initially they were producing their Wild Bunch beers continuously in Landskrona, but they brewed the Sour Patch beers and the speciality one-offs in the small brewery in Jørsløv for about 1.5 years, but then all of the production was moved to Landskrona in 2017, and they basically had they created a separate area for mixed fermentation as well, so kind of interesting. They also have the Veiled series of beers, which are their barrel-aged ones, and they use a variety of different yeast strains for those as well, from what I gather. But in 2014, this brewery actually caused a bit of a stir because they withdrew completely from Systembolaget in Sweden. They cited the bureaucracy with the nationalised system, and so they decided to focus on exporting their beers abroad. So at one stage, you did actually have to go to Denmark, and I don't know about Norway, but Denmark was the only place that you could actually get a hold of the Brekeriet beers. But they returned to Systembolaget in 2016, and they've been there since, and as of May 2020, when I'm producing this review for you, they've produced in the region of 175 different beers, and I've reviewed maybe about 12 or so, something like that, from this brewery. So yeah, these guys, if you're interested in Swedish craft beer, these guys are, you know, the original Swedish sour beer brewery, and I would recommend that you have a go at these guys, because their sours, they're very kind of modern. They're not you know, they're not kind of you know, they're not really just copying what's done in Belgium and things like that. They are doing a lot of really kind of interesting stuff. So this is a very kind of quirky brewery that I really would recommend that you check out. And I know I need to actually go and do an interview with these guys or something. I'd love to do an interview with the Eck brothers at some point. So I need to try and set that up actually. I'm maybe looking to do a few Meet the Brewery interviews at some point soon. We'll need to see how that works once the whole virus situation dies down. But yeah, like I say, a very, very interesting Swedish brewery, this one, and one that I really recommend that you check out. As I said, Sour and Salt, Wrapped in Red, Purple Rain, Ruby Gems, those are some very, very nice beers that I've had from these guys in the past, so definitely check those out. So yeah, that's all you need to know about them. Check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages from these guys to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, on to the guest brewery then, on to Idlewild. So as I mentioned to you earlier, Idlewild are based in Jönköping, and they opened back in 2016 and were founded officially though in 2013 by the Australian Damien Lindsley, along with Swedish partners Anders Löwenham and Fredrik Lager. Quite an apt name that, I have to say. But Damien is the main man running the brewery, and he began homebrewing in Australia as a 20-year-old back in the 1980s, and for a long time Jönköping didn't have its own brew pub, and Damien was really keen to fill this gap. So he'd begun homebrewing again after coming to Sweden. And then in June 2017, they got their beers into Systembolaget and started their own mini beer festival, which was just as a means to celebrate their first birthday. So the Idlewild Beer Cafe can be found on Tensticksområdet area of Jönköping, and it has a full on-site restaurant as well. So I think the next time I'm in Jönköping, I do need to go and check that out. But as of November 2019, these guys have produced 125 different types of beer, and I think the majority of them, the vast majority of them, are simply kind of on tap in the Idlewild Beer Cafe. So I think that's somewhere that I do need to go and visit and do a little out and about filming at when I next make it to Jönköping. When I was there, we were just basically passing through, so I popped into the local Systembolaget to pick up a couple of the local beers. And you know, that was that. We were only in Jönköping for maybe 2-3 hours. We went and had a little bit of kladdkaka, a bit of ice cream, as my dad and I often quite like to do, and then we moved on. We went on to Gothenburg. We were on our way from Kalmar to Gothenburg, and we went up the way through Jönköping, which was pretty nice actually. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Idlewild Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all of the different beers that they've done. But I think think there's maybe about 6 or so different beers available in bottles. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this one then. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this beer before we open up. There you can see it is pretty nice. It's actually quite different from the other artwork that you would normally see from Brekeriet. But there you can see, there is the Idlewild Brewing Company symbol. I think that's meant to be a flower. I think that's what that's supposed to be. And there you can see, there it is, the Brekeriet B, which is typical on their artwork. Here you can see there is the Brekeriet from Skåne with love, and there you can see there is Idlewild Jönköping, which is quite nicely presented. I do say I like the artwork. The artwork that Idlewild have on their bottle beers. You can check out my future-proof one to see what you think. But I think the artwork that those guys have is really nice. I really like the graphic style on that actually. But it says on the side here, we began talking about a collab when Brekeriet came to Idlewild in August 2019 for an event, and Brekeriet were quite blown away by the enthusiasm and the thirst for sour beers in Jönköping, so we decided to do a brew together. The tricky thing was to do something that Brekeriet hadn't done before, and so the Sour Lemon IPA was decided on. For Idlewild to do something together with Brekeriet is fantastic. Their passion, their dedication and their discipline set Brekeriet apart. It's an honour to be involved, plus we had a great time together in Landskrona. So yeah, as I say, a 6.2% Sour Lemon IPA, and it says on the side here there is coriander and wheat malt in this one, also a bit of rye as well, so that should be really quite interesting. As I say, very curious to see what this beer has in store for us. It's got a standard Brekeriet bottle cap on this one, so you know, without further ado, let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting then. Really curious to see what this beer has in store. So yeah, hopefully it turns out to be very nice. And I will say, you can smell the lemons on this right away. I'd be curious to know what hops they would put in this. Would they put a bit of Centennial or Lemon Drop, since it's a Sour Lemon IPA? Curious, definitely curious to see. So yeah, looks nice. So as you can see with this beer, it's actually poured kind of hazy, which is what you would almost expect from a modern IPA. But this one, if I put the light through it, this is actually quite a nice, almost peach juice type colour, this one. I think this is a really interesting looking beer. You can see there was about a quarter finger of a frothy white head of this one, but that's faded away to just be you know, a very, very thin foamy layer, almost nothing to be quite honest with you, just like a foamy ring around the edge of the glass. But you can see there's 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head, but you know, overall it looks pretty nice, like a kind of peach juicy coloured IPA, this one. So yeah, curious to see how this one turns out. But yeah, nothing particularly surprising about the appearance of this one, so let's take a look at the aroma and just see how we get on. Straight away you get those lemons, and it's actually quite a juicy smelling lemon as well, almost like a little bit wet, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's really, that smells really nice actually. So a very wet kind of juicy lemon, this one. Yeah, I mean, there's not. It's interesting. It smells like a very much kind of like a straight shooter beer, this one, and that is the thing, I guess. If you use lemons in a beer, they are going to kind of dominate the aroma a little bit. Underneath that, you can pick up a little bit of a kind of bready quality in there, and it does smell like a mix between a kind of white bready note and a brown bready note. If you've got a bit of rye in there, you are going to get a little bit more kind of graininess out of it. There's maybe a wee touch of a kind of slightly biscuity note to it as well, like a McVitie's Digestive. So yeah, slightly bready, white bready and brown bready base, a little bit of a kind of biscuity quality. And you also have, you know, you've also got all the other stuff sitting on top of it. So the malt base actually comes across as fairly straight up actually. I really like how that goes together. So yeah. In terms of the hoppy side of things then, and the fruity side of things, I mean, on the hoppy side you do get quite a bit of a floral, aromatic quality out of this one, and a little bit of grassiness as well, but it almost smells like the kind of lemon zesty quality. It's almost just kind of, you know, suppressing that a little bit. There's a lot of you know, when it's called a Sour Lemon IPA, that kind of makes sense, and you are going to get some citric elements from the lactobacillus or the Brettanomyces. I don't know if it says which one they've actually used. Mjölksyra bacteria. That's like milk sour bacteria. Not sure. So yeah, it's almost like a yogurty type one. Maybe it's a completely different kind of sour bacteria they've used in this one. So yeah, you will get a wee bit of that kind of citricy tart thing from the yeast as well, I would guess. But yeah, you don't really get much in the way of the coriander. I don't think the coriander's all that noticeable in it. I think the bready notes, I think it's more the rye. I get a bit more of the rye, to be honest with you. But yeah, you do get the juicy kind of sour lemons out of the beer, definitely. And I do think that the yeast will be contributing to that a little bit. So in fairness, I find this beer very much kind of what you would expect. I don't think there's anything too unusual with the aroma on this one, but I do like the way the lemons are quite actually juicy in their character. So yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy that aroma. But like I say, very straight up white bread, brown bread, a little bit of a kind of biscuity note to it, some grassy and floral notes, and a wee bit of a kind of, you know, just big juicy lemony thing, and some nice soury tart qualities there as well. So yeah, take a bit of time to enjoy that, but let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Our Dancing Daughters, a Sour Lemon IPA at 6.2% ABV, can't speak, from Brekeriet in Landskrona here in Skåne, brewed in collaboration with Idlewild Brewing from Jönköping, a little bit further north. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål. Ooh, that's one of the more sour beers I've had from Brekeriet. Actually, that one does have a bit of a kick to it. That's definitely one of the more puckering ones I've had. Ooh, it's almost got that really lingers as well. That'll be, you know, that's nice. I like that. I have to say, yeah, that is definitely one of the more sour beers I've had from Brekeriet in quite a little while. And that's the interesting thing, you don't, as far as I can remember, you don't get too many Brekeriet beers on glass banking actually, so I wonder if this one's been picked out because it is a bit more kind of quirky and things. But I have to say, I like this one. Both breweries get a big thumbs up here. This is nice. So if you come across this beer, I do recommend that you try this. It's very nicely done, and it's definitely quite different compared to what I've had from Brekeriet before. And as I say, the other beer that I had from Idlewild, the Future Proof, that's a big beast of a West Coast IPA, so quite different for them as well, I assume. But it's kind of cool that they'll do that. Hopefully we see a few more sour beers from Idlewild in the future. But yeah, this is really nice actually. Yeah, I like this one. It actually feels like quite a kind of thick sour, this one. It feels, the other first impression I have of this beer is that it's quite big and quite oily. But I'll tell you something, that really does have a nice big kind of sour kick to it. I like what this beer does actually. It's really worth trying this one because it's very different to the other Brekeriet sours that I've had. So yeah, the question is just where to start with describing the flavour of this beer. But yeah, it's almost just like a kind of completely lemon sherbet sort of thing that you get out of this one. Almost a wee bit like limoncello, almost. It's got that thing to it. I do like a bit of lemon flavour actually. But I have to say, this is definitely one of the strongest lemon flavours that I've come across before. So yeah, in terms of the kind of middle of your palate, then let's focus on that, because the sort of malty side of the beer I think comes out a little bit later on. So you can feel a little bit of that kind of pale malty base there. You can tell if you go further back on the palate, you do get a little bit of the wheat, a little bit of a kind of bitey note from the wheat, and a little bit of bitey note from the rye. But it actually comes across in the middle of the palate as being very, very smooth, which is very nice. The middle of your palate really does kind of sweeten up the further that you go into the aftertaste with this one. So yeah, the middle of your palate really does kind of sweeten up with this one. It does. I can get a wee bit of the coriander in the flavour of this one, particularly when you go further back. The middle of the palate almost just has a wee bit of a kind of biscuity type thing. So yeah, I do like how that kind of goes together in this one. The middle of the palate it kind of offers a nice contrast because it's very smooth. It's almost a little bit sweet, and it is almost just a wee bit yogurty. So yeah, that milk sour bacteria that they've put in this one, that does give it an almost bit of a yogurty kind of effect, which is interesting. So yeah, I like that about it. Yeah, not too much else to report on the malty kind of yeasty side of things, but in the back corners of the palate there is a little bit of earthiness there. As you move further forward along the side of the palate, you can feel the earthiness, pardon me, does spread forward a little bit. There's a nice little touch of floral aromaticity on the front corners of the palate, then round the front curve of the tongue you do get a little bit of a lighter grassness. But what I will say is that big lemony zest, that really just kind of, it just bombards the front of your palate really. The front third of your tongue is completely sour actually. And when you take this beer in, as I say, you get assault, you know, it's an assault on the senses straight away. There's a hell of a lot of sour quality to this one. Yeah, I really like how this goes together. Actually, I find it gets a little bit more grainy the further that you go into the aftertaste as well. So I really like that aspect to this one. That's very nice. Yeah, it's awesome. So in terms of that sour quality, where to start with it? I mean, it really is just straight up very sharp, very kind of tart lemons. I mean, I forget what you call that, but I know that with some of the lambic beers they make that really sharp soury syrup kind of thing on this, and I wonder if that's what they've done with this. So talking about it says they've added up straight up lemon zest to the beer, so that would kind of make sense. So yeah, that would be the reason why it's like basically tart as fuck. So yeah, it's really nice how it goes together, this one. But this sour is quite puckering, this one, so be prepared if you do try this. It is really quite sharp in the senses, but I like it. I certainly do like this one. It's a very straight up beer, this one, and as I've said before, I don't find sour beers to be the most complex of things. It's all about, for me, it's all about how they make that transition from being sharp and tart in the beginning to being kind of juicy and fruity and a little bit sweet in the aftertaste. And Brekeriet have always done a really good job with that actually, and I think this is no exception to that, but this is definitely one of the more kind of puckering ones that I've had from them. So yeah, like I say, when you take this one in, it's like tart as hell, but then it smooths out really nicely. You start to get a bit more of that kind of yogurty note to it, a little bit of the kind of white bready and brown bready mix and things, and you've also got just a wee bit of a kind of what do you call it, you've got a wee bit of a kind of bready kind of soury quality to it, which is a wee bit of just a kind of bready smoothness to it, which is nice. But then the hoppiness gives you a little bit of balance here. The hops aren't too bitter in this one, but then the lemon zest is just nuts, insane. But yeah, I like how that I do like how this one goes together. I find the more and more that I drink of it, the less sour that I find of it, but that's usually the case for quite a number of sour beers. So yeah, I like that. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I think this is a kind of, it's at the top end of mid-body, kind of bottom end of full body. This is one of the most oily sours I think I've ever had. Carbonation is very smooth on this one, and as I say, the whole thing just leans towards that oily mouthfeel, but it's got a hell of a lot of tartness to it, which I really quite like. And you know, it's also just got some it's also, the malt base, as I say, is very smooth. It's got a little bit of a slightly almost yogurty type feel to it in the middle of the palate. So yeah, there's a wee touch of sweetness to this one, a light bit of kind of hoppy character, and you know, a hell of a lot of sourness to this one. A nice big zesty lemony quality. So you do need to like lemons to like this beer, but that should be obvious from the actual name of the thing. But yeah, this one gets a thumbs up from me. I wouldn't hesitate to drink this again, and I'm curious to see what Idlewild do when they start brewing sour beers in the future. And it's nice to have another beer from Brekeriet after, pardon me, a little while as well. So if you do come across this one, have a go at it and see what you think, but definitely one of the more puckering sours that I've had from Brekeriet ever, I would say. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was our Dancing Daughters, a Sour Lemon IPA. It's 6.2% ABV from Brekeriet in Landskrona here in Skåne in the south of Sweden, brewed in collaboration with Idlewild Brewing, who are from Jönköping, a little bit further north, just on the south of one of the Great Lakes of Sweden. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are, both from Brekeriet and from Idlewild. No doubt we'll return to these guys at some point in the near future, but until then, I'll catch you just now. Make sure you enjoy some more beer reviews, try some good beers, and give me some recommendations. So until the next time, Slanja just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slanja, skål, cheers, make sure you check out Brekeriet and Idlewild. Skål.